We respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức tặng thịnh, vị thứ pháp ôi khắp nhất thiết chúng sanh. Thịnh chuyên nhiều pháp luân giao đạo ngã môn, như há liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đạc lạc, tất chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Namo Saranto Suchedo Ye Alahadi Samyao Sanputo Ye. Namo Tadakta Toya Daya Alahade Tamyo Tambo Da Toa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu wo jin jian wen de shou qu Yuan Jie Ru Lai Zhe Shi Yi. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master Huineng, Great Master YongHua, great monks and nuns, and all good advisors of the Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、六祖、师父上人、各位出家人、各位善知识、阿弥陀佛。Chư Phật Bồ Tát kính thưa Lục Tổ Hòa Thượng Kiên Thoá, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Okay, hello everyone. Today is the 18th of December 2021. Thank you for coming. We are here to discuss the 6th Patriarch Sutra. The first part of it, we are redoing it because when we first started 4 or 5 years ago, it was Chinese style, following the Chinese style of explaining the sutra. So now we're doing our American style, okay? And so thank you for the chance to do this again with you. Maybe in the future, we'll also redo the Vajrasutra as well. When I explained it like 10 years ago, several years ago, the first part was done well, I think. It's okay. But the second part is, first part is the sound hearers part. So it's different from Master YongHua's. Second part is not that well. So maybe someday we do it again, American style. We're stressing more on the Dharma for Bodhisattvas. Okay? I don't know yet. It depends on how busy we're going to be and how much longer I get to go at this. All right, so today we're on slide 259 on chapter 1. Text, good no advisors, listen while I tell you about the actions and intentions by which Huineng obtained the Dharma.
善知识且听， 慧能行由得法是义。
260. This is the very first part of chapter 1, where now the first part is the introduction. Now this is chapter 1, where we go into more actual teachings from Master Huineng. He says, let me tell you how I attained the Dharma. So, meaning that how I was taught, how I was trained, okay, how I cultivated. When you practice the Dharma, you need, in Mahayana, you need to have a what they call a bright eye teacher, bright eye, good no advisor, Mingye. Bright eye is Mingye, from Chinese Mingye. Mingye means that this person's eyes is very bright, meaning you can see very clearly who you're about and what path you should be following, okay, in order to get there. So this good no advisor in the concept of Mahayana is a person who knows the way, who can see very clearly who you are and which way you should be going. Okay, and so that's the first part. You need to learn. You need to find a good no advisor, and then that's what Master Huineng did. And then eventually, he'll be able to have time to practice his own to perfect the Dharma. So the two parts in attaining a Dharma. One is to seek instructions from a good no advisor, which is most important part of that. Okay, this is what differentiates Mahayana from all the other teachings. Mahayana, the first thing we do is look for a good no advisor, because there's no point in practicing without a good no advisor. It's a waste of time, personally. Okay, I feel that my entire life, my career, first part has always been to look for a good no advisor, and I was not lucky enough to find one. Okay, the ones I was able to get instructions from only taught me a few times, and that's it. But that's a very important part. The good no advisor is critical in our growth, in our development. And then the second part, so that is the first part, is your wisdom acquired from a teacher. And once you have that, then you have to go into Master Huineng as well, the wisdom acquired without a teacher. That's how he attained the Dharma, if you will. And you will go see, I think you will see that progression right here in this chapter. He related how it happened. Questions, comments? Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. So, just for clarity, this sutra is the 6th Patriarch, whose name is Huineng, and he's referring to himself like in the third person kind of deal?
Yes. Yeah, and that's how, instead of saying me, he says Huineng. Huineng, whatever it means, Huineng means to you, but it means something to him. Okay, so he avoided the word me. He used the word Huineng, his name, his Dharma name. Yes, Anna, go ahead. Number 6.
Master, once do you request to be taught when you find a good knowing advisor? Do you go to request that the good knowing advisor if you can be taught, or how is this?
How does it work? Well, first of all, you need to identify a good no advisor. Okay, and in a Chinese system, they have this referral where they said, the good no advisors are enlightened masters. In the Chinese system back then, not anymore. Nowadays, the Chinese don't know where to go either, just like us. However, the good no advisor because we can't recognize them. So the way the Chinese system has is you stick around the patriarchs, the neighborhood of the patriarchs. So for example, Master YongHua is the last known patriarch. And it is also said that he designated a second patriarch, second American patriarch as well. But his second patriarch hasn't made himself known yet, hasn't really surfaced yet. He's there, but no one can recognize him. Okay, and this is maybe is part of the teaching. We cannot recognize a good no advisor. And all we have in our system, in our Mahayana system, is that, and this what distinguishes Mahayana system is that we have good no advisors. We look for good no advisors. We don't bother training. We train, we meditate, we do things like that, but we don't take it seriously until we have a good no advisor who tells us what to do. It's very clear in Mahayana. Okay? So first of all, you need to identify one. And in the Chinese system, it used to be the case where these are people, the monks and nuns were not supposed to teach until they were ready, until they were told by the teacher to go teach. Like Master Huineng. At the end of this sutra here, he says, I'm leaving now. I'm done teaching you. So you, the 22 of you, who are qualified should go each in your own direction and teach. So that's a referral right there. He says, all these monks and nuns are qualified teachers. You can learn from them. Okay? So that's a reference, okay? A referral. Okay? So that's how it started. But nowadays, there's no such a thing anymore. Okay? Because when the last known patriarch in China was Master YongHua, he didn't do that. He didn't say, you are a qualified teacher, and therefore people can come to you. Maybe because it's not a safe thing to do in China anymore, to be known as a qualified teacher. Okay? So he didn't have the referral. But he went to China, he went to the United States, and he taught. He trained a bunch of students, monks and nuns. Okay, and so, but unfortunately, I can tell you that first of all, I can tell you that many of his disciples are enlightened. Okay, many, more than one, more than 7. Let me put it that way for you. Many is 7 or 8. I'm telling you it's more than 7. Okay? So many of them are enlightened. Okay? But there's no specific pointing to who they are. You can guess yourself. Okay? And in particular, there is a second patriarch who hasn't announced himself yet. So we are in limbo right now. We don't know what to do. Your generation doesn't know what to do. My generation is clear. I follow Master YongHua. I follow his Dharma. I follow his form of practice. I believe in it. Okay? Because not only because it worked for me, but also it produced results. I saw the results in his disciples. So it's very encouraging to see that. See enlightened monks and nuns. Okay? Even announced some, a particular monk is enlightened as well. Okay, and so it's very encouraging for me to see that. So that's why I didn't like the monk anyway, but it reinforced my belief in his Dharma, that the Dharma can produce such people. Okay, as I said, unfortunately, there's no direct referral like Master Huineng, who says, I have 22 disciples, 23 disciples. They're very good. You can learn from any of them. Or you can go from one to the other, okay, if you wish. And that's a Chinese style. Master YongHua didn't do that. Whatever his reasons are, I don't know. Okay, it's up to the second patriarch to do something about that. Okay, and personally, I didn't know back then that these people were enlightened, so I approached some of them. I asked for instructions. And that's what you're supposed to do. If you know there's someone who is referred as a good no advisor, you should approach them. When you make the effort to go draw near them, you have to make the effort. They're not going to come to you, okay? Unless you're very special. So for the average person, you need to make the effort, really do something significant, do something to demonstrate your real desire to be taught. Okay? That's how you approach these people. The first thing you do is you need to do something that's difficult to do so that you'll be taught. Okay? And it's not necessarily, won't necessarily always work, because sometimes these people don't know how to teach you either. Okay, so we don't know. We don't know. We keep on trying and trying and trying. And that's part of looking for a good no advisor. There's no guarantee, but you keep on looking and looking and looking. So that's a Chinese system as well, where you're allowed. Every monk and nun, after 5 years in a Chinese system, after you are fully ordained for 5 years, you're allowed to go and seek instructions from good no advisor. So they travel from temple to temple to temple and temple. Okay, so we can do that too here in this country. And you can go to Master Hsu's disciples, his Heng disciples, and ask for instructions, one after another. Okay, until you feel that you're getting some benefits from them. That's a system. Okay, you should be doing that, and that's how it works. And also in the way it works in practical terms is that you stick around as long as it works for you, as long as you're being taught. Okay. Until it doesn't work for you anymore, let's move on. But you shouldn't be like some people who says, I don't like you, I don't like it here anymore, and therefore I'm leaving. Okay, usually in that referral system, you shouldn't leave. If you found a good no advisor, you stick around, okay, until he or she tells you to move on. That's how it works. And that's the Mahayana system. Okay? Thank you for asking. This is a very important part of the training process. Okay? You be tested. You run to a lot of tests until you deemed worthy to be taught. In fact, when you think about it, each test is actually you being taught as well. Okay? Otherwise, they wouldn't bother testing you. Okay? So the Chinese system, I feel, of training is by far the best. Okay? The Chinese good no advisor system is the best in Mahayana form of training. And I hope that we have that in this day and age. We start here in the U.S., eventually wherever territory we invade, we will establish that as well. Because to me, without that system, you wouldn't know where to go. You wouldn't know who to look for and how to, as you asked, request the Dharma, how you can expect to be taught. Okay, so I hope that I'm personally, I gave up on the 2nd Patriarch. Okay, if now he hasn't still surfaced yet, too late. Okay, 25 years, that's too long. Meaning, not doing anything. I don't know what he's doing. But so it's up to us now to do something. And I hope that eventually we will have a referral system as well, where we have people, that eventually, for example, I started in Korea already. I'm going to start in Northern California, where a designated person you can go and learn from. A designated person you can go and learn from in Korea already. Okay? I will train him more and more. I will train him more and more until they are able to teach you and help you. Okay? Someone has to take a stand and say, this is it. If I'm wrong, tough luck. If I'm right, then you make it. And time will tell. Okay? But it takes time. I cannot, I've been waiting for 15, 20 years now. And if I wait any longer, it would be too late to establish this network. So we have to get started. Okay? All right. And I have high expectations and high hopes as well. 261. Hui Neng's third father was originally from Fanyang. He was banished to Xinzhou in Lingnan, where he became a commoner. My life is beset with misfortunes. My wife was beset with misfortunes. Okay? Corrected to was. My father soon died.
慧能严父本贯范阳，左将留于岭南，做新州百姓。此生不幸，父又早亡。
Was, right here. You want me to reload? Okay, let me reload. Okay, so this is how he started. See, he started first chapter. What did he say? First teaching, he says, my father. This is where I came from. He's always respectful of his father, his parents. Very subtle. I'm a big shot now. My father is nobody. Okay? I'm a very big shot right now. But my father is nothing. But he's still my father. Don't you dare. You become successful and say, oh, my father is nobody. No, he says, my father. My father is so-and-so. Okay? And he didn't do well. Okay? His third father. Okay? And he didn't do well in professionally. He was banished. So it's an embarrassment. Okay? And he failed. Okay? But he's still my father. (263) And my aging mother was left alone. We moved to Nanhai, destitute and in bitter straits. Hui Neng sold wood in a marketplace.
老母孤遗来南海，艰辛贫乏，于是卖财。
(264) So, 63. He says, so my father died, my mother is left, and back in the Chinese system, the woman is no good in earning a living. And the women depending on the husbands for support. And the father was an official, small-time official, but he was banished anyway because he wasn't, his bosses weren't pleased with him. Okay? Whatever the reasons were, didn't matter. He's not corrupt enough, or he's too corrupt, it doesn't matter. Okay? But he was banished and he died out of shame, out of dishonor. Okay, he couldn't take it. He couldn't handle it. Okay, and he left my aging mother. Okay, meaning that he abandoned her. Okay, and so we moved to Nanhai, for whatever reasons. But when we moved there, we were very poor and endured a lot of difficulties, got virtually no support. So what did I do? I supported my mother by selling wood in the marketplace. So very, very poor conditions for him. And he found himself having to support his mother. Okay? 264. One day, a customer bought firewood and had it delivered to his shop. After the delivery, Huineng received the money and went outside. He noticed a customer reciting a sutra.
时有一客买柴，使令还至客店，客收去，慧能得钱，却出门外，见一客诵经。
And so 264, the text here, he says, one day, so he sold firewood for a living, which is one of the most menial tasks. At least he didn't have the clean bathrooms, okay? But it was selling firewood, so it's a lot of physical labor. Climb up in the wilderness, out in the woods, and then collect the woods, maybe chop some of them up, and collect them and bring them back. Okay, it's medial work and very physical, very demanding, but that's how he earned a living, barely scratching by. And so he sold firewood and sold it to one of his clients. Okay, at the shop. Okay, and he delivered the money. And as he left, he noticed a customer reciting the sutra. All right. 265. Upon hearing the words of this sutra, Huineng's mind immediately became enlightened.
慧能一闻经语，心即开悟。
So 266, commentary. He's illiterate, so he couldn't read. Okay, never learned how to read. Okay, so he depended on hearing somewhat, which is fortuitous, because he didn't have access to sutras, and he's too busy making a living anyway, and never learned how to read. Didn't have back then sutras were readily available. Okay, you need to scribe it by hand. Okay, and it's very expensive. So some sort of client of the shop was reciting this sutra. Okay, and so all those conditions combined together with the fact that as soon as he heard the sutra being recited by that particular person, he immediately became enlightened. Okay, so this is called Dun Wu, sudden enlightenment. Immediately, as soon as he heard that line, that person reciting whatever he was reciting, Vajrasutra, whatever lines, and then he says, upon that phrase, okay, you should not produce a mind that dwells nowhere. He became enlightened with that phrase. The rest didn't matter at all. Okay, and that's called sudden enlightenment. Okay, he himself became enlightened without any training, without any teacher. Okay, no preparation at all. Okay, that's incredible. You can tell this is not an ordinary person. Right? 267. Thereupon, he asked the customer what sutra he was reciting. The customer replied, Vajrasutra. Then he further asked, where do you come from, and why do you recite this sutra?
随问客诵何经？客曰：金刚经。复问从何所来持此经典？
Okay, so he asked the customer, which sutra are you reciting? And the sutra says, oh, the Vajrasutra. Vajrasutra is the summary of the Prajna teaching, which the Prajna is the teaching about enlightenment. If you want to become enlightened, this Prajna teaching, which the Buddha spent 22 years explaining, teaching to his disciples. Okay, among the sutras and the teachings he gave during those 22 years is something called Vajrasutra, which is the culmination, the summary of all the Prajna teaching, you will. Okay, so that's what the sutra, this customer said. I was reciting a Vajrasutra, and this Vajrasutra here in 268 commentary slide. So when you recite the sutra, okay, you will attain a lot of benefits for yourself. Okay, mere fact of reciting the sutra is extremely beneficial for you. It's magical, and then also it creates benefits for others as well. In particular, in his case here, Master Huineng's case, you could hear it. But it's not just him. It's also other invisible beings, Dharma protectors who also are there as well. So all those beings could hear it, including the beings who can't hear it. Even the mere fact that your body odor, okay, and you there, and you reading this sutra, and then the wind blows where the body odor is carried. It also benefit those people who inhale your body odor. Hopefully, you should bathe more often. Okay. Yes. 5.
Master, does this mean it's better we don't take showers so that we have more odor?
No, not at all. It's better that you shower more frequently so that your odor is more refined. And do not use cheap shower stuff. You have to ask, Korean ladies, do not be offended. And this is how we Americans are. Very gross. Text. The customer said, I come from Dongchan Monastery in Chanzhou, Huangmei Province. There, the 5th Patriarch, the great Master Hongzhen, hosts and teaches over 1,000 disciples.
客云：我从展州黄梅县东禅寺来，其寺是五祖忍大师在彼主化，门人1000有余。
All right, so the gentleman replied. He says, I actually belong to this monastery called Dongchan in Chanzhou, Huangmei Province. So that's where the 5th Patriarch, that's the 5th Patriarch's monastery. And over there, he's residing, and he actually is teaching about 1,000 disciples. So meaning back then, at that era, during the 5th Patriarch's era, he was able to draw quite a few followers. So the Chan Dhamma door was fairly well established, okay? And so the Chinese gathered there and to study from under Master Hongshan. Okay, so you can tell that he has a lot of support. Okay, because he's known as a patriarch, 5th patriarch. So once you're known as a patriarch, I imagine that the Chinese were sending him a lot of support financially in food and what have you. Okay, so at that era, at that time, patriarchs have no problems getting support at all. Okay, unlike right now. Okay, yes, 5.
Master Chen said it should be Huangmei County, not Huangmei Province.
Province, county, province. Yeah, province is more how it was divided back then. There's no such thing as county back then. County is American, LA County, but province is more likely. Okay, I disagree. I don't think it's county at all. County is too small. Okay. Yes, 6.
Adding to that, there is also, like in Mexico, there is municipalities. There is no counties or condado or anything like that.
Right. You have state, right? More like a state.
The state
province. Province more equivalent to our state nowadays. Okay, not as big as here, but more the state like in Mexico, where you have 32 states. Yes.
And each state has municipalities.
Yes, municipalities, no counties. Okay. Okay. So so many people gathered together. So you see, right there, the Chan Dharma door is a lot of people together. It's not. You don't practice by yourself. You want to be taught. Lots of people are taught together. All right. Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. I saw the monastery was named Dongchan, and then thank you. The area was Chanzu. So is that the same Chan that we're practicing, the same word?
No, different Chan here, different. Ours is Chan. Okay.
So it wasn't a Chan monastery.
Dongchan is a Chan monastery. Dongchan, Dong is east. Chan monastery. Okay, it's called the Chan monastery, named by Dong. Okay, Dong is east. Okay, and in Chan is different. Okay, this character here, it's not the same as this character here, in Chinese character in Huangmei province. So this is a Chan monastery.
So the 5th patriarch was a Chan practitioner.
Yes, he was a Chan teacher. Okay, and this predates how Chan monasteries were organized in China. It's only later that after Bai Chang, great Chan master Bai Chang, which is generation maybe 8, 9 or so. He's 5th generation. That's when he created this system of Chan monasteries for everyone else to follow. But until then, before that, it says not clear organization for Chan monastery. However, the 5th patriarch has enough wisdom that he could manage to run a 1,000 disciple monastery. The logistics are incredible. Think about it. We have how many people here? Okay, and look at how people are running crazy at lunchtime, cooking, and and complaining about each other. Imagine you multiply that by 200-fold, or it's a madhouse. Okay, and and it's not clear how they were organized. Okay, but until Master Bai Chang, that's when you have all these functions. Okay, they compartmentalize it. Okay, to run the monastery. We're not clear how the 5th Patriarch pulled it off. Yes, 6.
Master, when it says 1,000 disciples, does that include a Sangha and lay people?
Yes, absolutely. There's no discrimination between Sangha and lay people at all. Okay, when we teach, we look at the same. Look at all, you are the same. Okay, in the sense that, don't get me wrong, in the sense that when it's time for you to be taught, okay, then there's no discrimination like we need to teach monks first and lay people after, or teach the lay people who are more supportive, who have more money, more influence first, and so forth. There's no such discrimination. However, they're not the same way of training. Okay, meaning that the left form people have their own Dharma doors, lay people have their own Dharma doors, but typically each person is taught differently. Okay, but for these enlightened teachers, there's no discrimination whatsoever. Case in point, my master, I noticed his lay people level actually are higher than the monks' level right now. Okay, so it's no discrimination at all. Okay, and that's why the monks look down upon us, and his lay people look down upon the monks. We all get what we deserve. All right. 271. I went there to make obeisance and heard and receive this sutra.
我到彼中礼拜听受此经。
Yeah, I don't know. We have this later. Why he? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So 272, he says, I went there. You have to go there. Okay. This day and age, the students expect the teachers to be available online and so forth. That's only for starters. Okay. Like I heard a lot of people say, teach me whatever. I said, and when I say there's the good advisor will teach and so forth, and they say, why don't you teach me? No. You want to be taught. Okay. You have to show your sincerity by physically going there. You don't come, you'll be taught long distance. But it's not the same Dharma. Why not? Yes, 5.
Master Jane said the word Xian County is within Zhou. All time, there's no province in China.
No province in China?
Yeah, province is an administrative unit only surfaced in the Qing dynasty 5500 year AD. Before that, it was just Zhou and Xian.
So Zhou is state. Jiazhou, the state of California. So it's not a county either. Yes.
Master, it's a different Zhou. Yazhou has 3-dot water, means it's a continent. But this Zhou doesn't have the 3 dots. It's the state. From the slides, it seemed like the English translation mistaken Chanzhou Meixian as one word. But a more accurate translation would be Chan State and Huangmei County.
I see. Okay. Okay, and with all due respect, we apologize to the Chinese. We have the wrong pronunciation and the wrong translation. But it's up to you how to change it. I can't care less. It doesn't matter anymore. It's all scholarly thing. Okay, but yes, absolutely, we should change it. And then you change it, and then other people complain, disagree, and on and on and on. And that's fine. Whatever you want to organize, however you want to translate it, feel free. And I'm not particular about the exact names because it's irrelevant nowadays anyway. Okay, it only means that these particular places, that's where they are. And all I care about is that place called Dongchan Monastery. That is a key to me. Whatever it's called, province, county, whatever, it's okay. Okay. Meaning Dongchan is a sagely ground. That would be important to me. But the whole state, the whole province, the whole county, whatever, not that important anymore. Okay? All I care about right now is Dongchan Monastery, if it's still around. But that particular area right there, wherever Dongchan is, that's shady grounds. I would invest money there. Okay? I would buy land there. Because it's shady ground. It's fantastic investments, if you ask me. Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. I'd like to take a stab at why it's important to physically come and ask for a good knowing advisor to teach you. I think it's especially important to articulate this considering the pandemic and the remote nature of many human interactions, especially for young people. Because sometimes the only way you can see people right now is through the computer screen. I don't know if you ever tried to have a conversation with a 12-year-old when they only present their forehead to the Zoom camera. Mm-hmm. It can be a bit. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I start laughing after a while, and I just move my forehead to the camera too, and meet them there. But in terms of a quality interaction, it leaves something left to be desired. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the essence of why it's important to show the effort and bring yourself physically and present yourself physically to someone who you are asking to teach you. You need to show the respect and have the quality interaction so that person has the opportunity to observe you and see what you would need to be taught.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Just have to be there. You don't believe me? Tough luck. Yes, go ahead, 9.
Dongchan Temple is still around.
Very good, thank you. Okay, so that is a place if I were to go to China, I'd like to visit those places. That would be of interest to me. Okay, more so than the Great Wall, whatever. To me, I'm not interested in sites per se. I'm interested in these places where these great sages were at work. It would be fantastic. Yes, Q&A.
A Di Đà Phật. Dạ thưa thầy, làm sao biết ai là thiện tri thức để mà tìm?
Master, how do you know who will be the good knowing advisor for us to go and look for?
As I said, in the Chinese system, you have these names. They are named by the great teachers, like Master Huineng. He says, 22, 23 of my disciples, you should go and teach. So he says, basically, he's endorsing them as teachers. Okay? And Master XuanHua, when he came here, he also said, I'm leaving, but I have a second patriarch already. So he's endorsing the second patriarch. For some reason, second patriarch didn't announce himself. So we have to defer up to him why he's doing these things, none of our business. Okay? So usually you recognize a good advisor because of referrals. Because you otherwise cannot tell. We people, we students cannot possibly recognize the teachers. It's not possible for us to recognize them. Okay? So what we can do is, since we cannot tell who they are, as I said, we should go to places where they hang out, if you will. Okay? You go to, since right now we don't have this referral system for our era in the United States or wherever you are, you can only go to places where you will find disciples of the patriarchs. Whether, for example, in China, I would go to places where Master Xu Yun disciples gather, if at all. Okay? But however, I feel that Master Xu Yun disciples will not be as good as Master XuanHua disciples. Why not? Because Master XuanHua disciples are higher level of Master Xu Yun. I'm disappointed in Master Xu Yun disciples. Okay, he sent one over here to accept some temples in Hawaii. I'm very disappointed with that guy. He's not qualified to teach. Okay, so in a way, that's a very bad way to it's not helpful to us. Okay, for two reasons, well, many reasons. One reason is that when he sent his disciples to Hawaii to accept some temples, okay, and this guy is not qualified to teach, okay, it causes problems with Master XuanHua. Because the people will say, should I learn from Master XuanHua or should I learn from this guy? It's the same generation. You see? So to me, I'm sorry, Venerable Xu Yun, I disagree with that such a move because it causes confusion. I would make it clear that this is my disciple. I send him here to accept the temples, whatever the reason, okay, for my own reasons. But you want to learn from XuanHua. Make it very clear. He didn't do that. Okay? That's no good. He failed. I'm sorry. I'm tough on someone who's dead. Okay? But he's supposed to do that. I expect him to do that. He didn't. Okay? So this guy in Hawaii, he has, this following, and he's basically doing nothing. He's teaching all the wrong stuff. Okay? So that's the first thing is referrals. Okay, and I would rather go to Master XuanHua's trees, areas, monasteries, and look for a good advisor. Okay, and that's the next thing because he makes it difficult for us. He says, "I designated my successor, and he's probably here among his disciples." Okay, because there's no one else. Okay, and so you should go to his temples and look for that good advisor. Okay. It's tough for us right now, let me tell you, because we try to establish Mahayana here, but we are like a snake without a head. We cannot tell who's really a good advisor at all, unfortunately. So all we have right now is second guess. Okay, and that's why I'm taking a stand. I say, you can learn from him. You can learn from him in Korea. And if I'm wrong, tough luck, but at least I give you a chance. That's all. And my caveat, my warning to you is that you learn and you're not making progress, then move on. That's all. Okay? Now, why do you need to go there? Okay, it's funny on the internet, people ask us, they tune in and ask us, so I buy into your concept of good looking for a good knowing advisor. Okay, so how am I going to be taught? Okay, I'm qualified more or less. No, you're not qualified. It's a good knowing advisor who decides that you qualified. You don't decide for yourself you're qualified. So you need to do something to qualify yourself. Okay? For example, look for a job. Interview for a job. Someone has to look at you and say, yeah, you're worth it. I will invest in you. You have potential. I will invest. Okay? So you need to do something to prove yourself. You don't just say, hey, I am educated, I have experience, so forth. No. It's a lot more than that. So the way it works in our system is you need to physically come. Okay? Unless you physically come, okay, it's unlikely you'll be taught. So the online, I stress again, the online system we're setting up here is only like an appetizer. If it works for you, then you have to physically come here, okay, come to the temple. And that's when you find there's a difference. What is the difference? Okay. The teaching in Chan is not knowledge. It's not what it is are instructions. Chan training is about instructions, not knowledge at all. Okay? What kind of instructions? Instructions on what to do in order to get there. Chan teaching is very specific. What works for someone may not work for you. That's why each person will receive individual instructions when it's time. You don't say, I'm here, teach me. You don't teach me, I leave. Okay? That's a bad attitude. You will not be taught. Okay? You be taught, I stress again, you be taught when it's time to teach you. Not before, not after. Okay? And meanwhile, just like in the case of Master Huineng, he had to wait for 8 months before he's taught. And work his butt off for 8 months. He didn't say, I'm here, teach me. He just came and said, I'm here to seek the Dharma. And then he had to work for 8 months. Okay? He had to labor away for 8 months without a single instruction. Hey, we'll work in the back. That's it. He totally ignored. So you have to physically come, okay, for many reasons. One of the reasons is that you need to demonstrate your sincerity. If you're not sincere, then you won't work hard. You won't work hard when we give you instructions on what to do. You are not even willing to hop on an airplane or hop in a car or hop on a train or hop on a bus, okay, to get to the temple in order to learn, in order to be taught. then you're not willing to make the effort. So what happens is that when we give you instructions, it's too easy for you. You won't take it seriously. You have to earn the instructions, period. You don't earn it, it will not be given to you. You have to find a way to earn it. That's the bottom line. That's the reality of the training. Okay? And so you have to earn it. And number two, why at the temple? It's because it's ideal for your training. You are shielded from the distractions at home. You are protected from your own karmic obstructions. Okay, and because cultivation is a lot more involved than you think. You don't just say, "I'm going to cultivate," and that's what happens. It doesn't, that's the Hinayana style or the non-Buddhist style where you say, "I'm going to sit here and meditate." Okay, and that's a very inefficient way. It's not ideal way of training, of cultivation at all. Okay, and once you get into a place like the Dongchan monastery, then you see it's totally different. Okay. Okay, so he had to go there physically where the instructions are being bestowed upon the students. And that's how he received the sutra. To receive here, to receive my body and maintain with my mind. Meaning that it's a being bestowed upon you, okay? And you must cultivate it, meaning that you decide it, you make offering a sutra, you bow, you offer incense, you print, you hear, you explain, and so forth. Okay? So back then, Chan was transmitted, was taught through the transmission the sutra. Okay, so in a way, you could say that the 5th Patriarch training was not that sophisticated. It evolved a lot more later. At the generation of Master Huineng, it became a lot more. Okay, a lot more involved, a lot more advanced, if you will. Okay, because the reason I say that is because 5th Patriarch's assistant, Venerable Sheng Xiu, didn't make it. Was not enlightened. By the time the 6th Patriarch left, he wasn't enlightened. Okay? And therefore, to me, he shouldn't even be a substitute teacher. Whatever he teaches, you have to undo eventually. 273, text. The Great Master constantly exhorts the Sangha and laity only to uphold the Vajrasutra. Then they may see their own nature and straightaway achieve Buddhahood.
大师常劝僧俗但持《金刚经》，即自见性直了成佛。
All right. So you see, the way the 5th Patriarch taught, he says, all of you, Sangha, laity alone, all the same. You should only uphold the sutra, meaning memorize it, read it, recite it, okay, bow to it, whatever you do with the sutra here. So his primary form of teaching was the Vajrasutra. See, it's rather limited. Okay, and he says by upholding a Vajrasutra here for everyone, one single Dharma door called Vajrasutra, okay? The umbrella called Vajrasutra, okay? And by doing that, you may see the own nature and achieve Buddhahood directly, okay? See, when I first started explaining this years ago, I didn't dare criticize the 5th Patriarch. Now I'll be blunt with you. This is very narrow, okay? This is why the 6th Patriarch have to detach from these people and says, let's start anew, because seriously, your path is too narrow. It's too difficult to undo. You see the problems? He had to break away so that he can start afresh. Because these people, after years of practicing under the 5th Patriarch, they are so ingrained in their tracks. It's just too difficult to undo these things, especially with the certain teaching, okay? It's too difficult. So that's why he decided, I want to break away, okay? All right? Any questions? You see, you go from one generation to the next, there's a huge difference. And clearly, the 6th Patriarch is much more advanced than the 5th Patriarch. As later, when you remember how he taught his disciples in chapter 7 or 8 or something, where people came to him and asked him questions, and so he would help them with the Nirvana Sutra, would help them with whatever principles, Flower Sutra, Lotus Sutra, and so forth. He's a full range, much broader range, much more pathways than just the Vajrasutra. So far, so good? That's the difference in teacher. You see, that's possible in Buddhism. See, remember? First part, wisdom from a teacher. Stick to that. And there's a time when the conditions are appropriate, then you develop wisdom without a teacher. So the 6th Patriarch excelled doing this. He says, my teacher was a 5th Patriarch. He gave me this knowledge, this wisdom, and I developed my own. That's Buddhism. That's Wei-Yang. In Wei-Yang training, you're not limited by the teacher at all. That's why it's called Wei-Yang. Whereas Linji, for example, is limited by your teacher. I'm not going to tell you why, but there's a difference, huge difference. The way they train, you're limited by your teacher. In Wei-Yang training, you're not limited at all. And that's a secret in Wei-Yang that later was lost until Master Xu Yun picked it up again. In other words, Master Xu Yun understood how to do it. That's why he recognized Master YongHua. You see? Before Master Xu Yun, no one could understand it. So Wei-Yang disappeared. All right, continuing. 274. Huineng heard that from karmic conditions of past lives, another customer gave Huineng a pound of silver so that he could provide clothing and food for his aging mother.
慧能闻说素习有缘，乃蒙一刻取银10两与慧能，另充老母衣粮。
Okay, so Master Huineng, he says, I heard. So someone told him that he believed that person. Okay, so he says, he didn't say, I knew. He said, no, someone told me, and I believe that person. And that's Buddhism as well, because that person to Master Huineng has the authority, so there's no point in him double checking. You see that? Okay, so it's not important. He says, I accepted that someone told me that I have some condition of past lives. And of course, it's the case. That's why one customer gave Huineng a pound of silver right after he became enlightened. He attained the Dharma, and from on the marketplace, right there on the street, he heard it. He said, oh. And then one of the customers he has, decided to give him a pound of silver, which is a lot of money back then. Okay, pound of silver is, how much is it worth nowadays? 1 ounce is, I believe someone tried to tell me to buy silver, $40. He looked at me and said, you need to buy silver. You're poor, so better make some money. And so buy silver. So I look at silver price is $34, $37. Okay, 1 ounce. And a pound is how many ounces? 16 ounces? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, that's a pound of silver. So that he could provide clothing and food for his aging mother. And so karmic condition, meaning that he had some blessings. Master Huineng had some blessings. That's what karmic conditions here means. He had some blessing. That's why he received these things. You don't expect to receive things if you have no blessings. Okay? Yeah. It includes, you want to be taught, you must have blessings too. Don't just say, here I am, teach me. Good luck. 3.
Thank you, Master. A quick search shows a pound of silver today is worth somewhere between $300 and $350.
That's all? Oh, good Lord. You can hardly buy anything. But this is 1,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. You know? 1,600 years ago. So back then it must be worth a lot of money. Yeah. Anyway. All right. 276. Text. Thus man instructed him further to go to Huangmei to call upon and pay respect to the 5th Patriarch.
教便往黄梅参礼五祖。
So, the man, the customer who gave him the money, also gave him instructions as well. Okay, now, it's too coincidental. It's too much coincidence here, don't you think? You know, like the guy is poor and he's been buying wood from Master Huineng. Master Huineng was so poor. He had to eke out living every single day, no sick leaves, no vacation time, okay? And have this set of customers who've been buying from him, okay? And they waited and waited until he became enlightened, and he said, here's a pound of silver, and you go to Huangmei. Okay? It's too much of a coincidence. So you see that, clearly that, you know, that the great master has so many blessings that they've been watching and waiting for him until the conditions were ripe. Then they told him what to do. Okay? Go there physically. Don't just sign in on the teleconference on YouTube. Okay? And so my point here in the slides 277 is that Master Huineng had blessings, and at that point in time, those great blessings became 1 pound of silver plus the instructions. Okay, the 1 pound of silver is to relieve him from his filial duties to his mother. So you need worldly blessing. You cannot say, I cultivate, I only meditate. You need to have something to sustain yourself as well. You cannot ignore that. Okay? So that's why when you plant blessings to cultivate, you need to have both. You need to have material blessings as well, meaning the food and the clothing and the shelter and the medicine and so forth. Okay, the transportation and so forth, as well as spiritual blessings in the form of instructions. It's not that simple. You just say, I'm come here and cultivate. No. Even when you come to a place for instructions, you still need them as well, because you're still eating food there. And you are still, and you are receiving instructions as well. You see, right then is a proof that the blessings has to be complete. Okay? So you have to create, the blessings to take care of your daily needs and the blessings to receive instruction. So he says, this person who gave him the money and said, you go to YongHua. That's why I'm giving you the money. So that's the instruction right there. It's critical. Yes, 5.
Master Chen said 1 pound of silver in Master Hongmei's time can buy 40,000 pounds of rice.
40,000 pounds of rice. And each day, how much you eat. How long does it last? You give me information, I will ask for more information. Okay? Just like you. When I give you instruction, you ask for more instructions. I'm doing the same to you. Okay. So you see another point here, that when you create blessings, don't be so short-sighted and say, I've been creating blessings. How come I don't see anything coming back in my way? Okay? Nature of blessing is when you need it, will manifest. When you don't need it, forget it. Okay? So don't plant blessings and expect, to get something back. This is not a transaction. This is not commerce. Okay? Don't be so petty. Okay? So he instructed to go and bow, seek instructions. That's all the instructions. To pay respect. Important that you have to be respectful. Unlike our worldly dharma, you don't need to be respectful. You just pay for the instructions. Okay? Because if you don't get what you want, get what you pay for, you go somewhere else. Okay? You pay somewhere else where you'll be more satisfied with the customer service. Here is in a transcendental world, in a spiritual world. Okay? You have to be respectful. Okay? And that's why I wasn't taught. I was not respectful enough. Because on one hand, I look at you, you're supposed to teach me? And the other hand, I said, please teach me. So, it's so stupid. I look at all these monks and say, really? You enlightened? You like this? And then I turn around and say, please teach me. So stupid. Because they taught me Chan. I remember this monk who taught me Chan. I said, that's your understanding of Chan? Seriously? This is your Chan? It's not like Master Hsu's Chan at all. And the poor monk later tried to teach me some more. And the more he came, the more he taught me. Seriously? the more he tried to help me, the more I lost respect for him. It's my curse. I'm just too arrogant, too stupid. Some like it the hard way, like myself. Text. After Huineng had made arrangement for his mother's care, he took his leave.
慧能安置母婢，即便辞为。
To 78. So he says, I took care of my mother. Okay. You have to understand that mother and son were very close to each other. And so for him to break away from his mother and for his mother to agree to it is phenomenal. I don't know how that woman would have been able to do that. Being a weak woman who depends on her son entirely for material, and most equally important is mental support, emotional support. And yet she agreed to let him go. Okay? Very, very, very special mother there. Okay? So he took care of his mother. Okay? And he took his leave. Okay? So you see, he's discharging his filial duties. Okay? And that's very important. Before you can do cultivation, you need to discharge your duties. Okay, take care of your debts. All right. Yes, 3.
Thank you, Master. I agree it must have been a transition, but with all due respect to his mother, 40,000 bags of rice probably made it a little bit easier. Wasn't it 40,000 bags of rice?
Yeah, according to Jane. Yeah. Jane is an engineer, so we can trust her numbers. Unlike Sang-wook, do not trust her numbers.
I mean, if I ate as much rice as I possibly could, and I like rice, 40,000
I prefer pizza.
pounds of rice, 40,000 pounds. I mean, a pound, you can't eat a pound of rice a day. That's a lot. So 365 times 1,000 is...
Being Chinese, eating 3 meals a day, I think a pound would last her 3 days, at least.
Yeah, so like 90,000 days-ish, 120,000 days.
Yeah.
You could probably get another son and feed him. They can emotionally support you with that rice.
Yeah.
Just being worldly about it for perspective.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It helps tremendously. Mm-hmm. Because he's barely scraping by, so he's probably, they couldn't afford to eat that much rice anyway, so she should be happier. It's that her stomach is cared for in the foreseeable future. Yes, I get your point. Okay. However, my point here is that it's the emotional support that she's willing to let go. And that's remarkable. It's not easy. Okay, they only have each other. He didn't even get married or had a girlfriend, and so for her to let go is a special woman. Anything else? Yes, 9.
There's a story on how Huineng left his mother. There's a rock where they live, and when Huineng told his mother he wanted to leave...
Great Master Huineng, you don't say Huineng, is not respectful.
Sorry. When Great Master Huineng told his mom that he wanted to leave, his mom was put in a very difficult situation and wasn't sure what to do. So they asked Great Master Huineng's uncle, and the uncle was being difficult, and he pointed out at a huge rock in the village, and told Great Master Huineng that if this rock will break into two, then you may leave. So what Great Master Huineng did was he bowed to the rock, and there was a huge lightning that broke the rock into two. That's how Great Master Huineng was able to leave the village to visit Master Hongren.
Oh, how interesting. I didn't know about that story. Thank you. A nice addition. It still doesn't resolve because it came from the uncle. I'm talking about the mother. It's if the mother says no, I don't care what my brother-in-law says. I don't want you to go. He probably won't go. Okay, so it's I don't know how that was resolved, but anyway, it was resolved. Okay. Of course, he got a lot of help as well. All right. 279. In less than 30 days, he arrived at Huangmei and made obeisance to the 5th Patriarch, who asked him, "Where are you from, and what do you seek?"
不经30余日，便至黄梅，礼拜五祖。祖问曰：“如何方人？欲求何物？”
So in 32 days, it's pretty fast. 30 days. 30 days he arrived at Huangmei. So 30 days is not a grueling. Okay, it's not that far. Okay, back then, I imagine that people travel was not very, very convenient. So I would expect to take months, but no, it took him only 30 days. Okay, and he bowed to the 5th Patriarch. Okay, and that's one other reason why you want to come physically, because when you come, you bow. Okay, that bowing there speaks volume about you. Some monks and nuns who come to my temple and bow to me because of their convention. They heard of how big the temple is, and the way they bow, and they bow and they say, "Is he going to bow me back or not?" Anyway, so he arrived at Huangmei, made obeisance to the 5th Patriarch, who asked him, "Where are you from? What do you seek?" Okay, this is seems to me, and I cannot speak for patriarchs. Seems to me what the monks and nuns are supposed to do. Okay, if the patriarch does it, then he's trying to tell us something. He says, when people come and bow to you at your temple and bow to you, you should try to find out where they come from, where they came from, and what they're looking for. That's your responsibility. Right? So, a commentary in 280. So, at the age of 22 years old, at the time, he discharged his filial duties, his mother, and went away to seek enlightenment. Okay, my question is that, so which is more important? Your mother's welfare or your enlightenment? Okay, apparently the answer is, to him, enlightenment is more important. Those are priorities in life from a great sage. All right? 281. Huineng replied, "Your disciple is a commoner from Xinzhou in Lingnan and comes from afar to pay respect
慧能对曰：
to the master, seeking only to be a Buddha and nothing else.
慧能对曰：“弟子是岭南新州百姓，远来礼师，唯求作佛，不求于物。”
Okay. So the master said on the commentary slide 282. So he says, he came from afar. I came from a far place. It's not. So I travel here to seek, and to pay respects. Okay. I stress again. You want to be taught, you have to be respectful. Okay, and how you show your sincerity and your respect will dictate how you be taught in a transcendental ways. Okay? And he says, so he answered the question is, where are you from? And what do you seek? Okay? And so he says, I'm from far away, and I come here to seek to pay respects to you, to show my respect to you. Okay? And after I show my respect to you, I only want, the only thing I'm looking for, my only purpose of being here is to become a Buddha and nothing else. Okay? How did he go from becoming enlightened, meaning at the time when he heard that phrase from the customer reciting the sutra, he became a fourth-stage arhat? And how did he go from there to becoming a Buddha? Okay, so you see, that's right there is the basis for my interpretation that he became a fourth-stage arhat at the marketplace when I heard that line from the Vajrasutra. Okay, and then from there on, something happened, and then he says, when he saw the 5th Patriarch, he says, I'm here to become a Buddha. You see, it's very precise. He's not seeking enlightenment. He says, I want to become a Buddha. Nothing else. 唯求做佛. I want to be a Buddha. Nothing else. Okay, so there's definitely an upgrade in the goals. 283. The Patriarch said, you're from Lingnan, are therefore barbarian. How can you become a Buddha?
祖言：如是岭南人，又是葛僚，若为堪作佛。
So the 5th Patriarch, here's what happens. There's another reason why you need to physically show up. Okay? And don't expect to be taught online or from a long distance because you're not that special. Here's the reason. The 5th Patriarch immediately threw a test at him. Doesn't waste time. He says, you have to want to be a Buddha, huh? But wait a minute. You are fundamentally is a savage. Okay, and this is considered the frontier regions, and that's where there's no culture, there's no civilization, only the poor people live there, and so therefore you are basically a savage. How can, okay? How can you feel you're worthy of it? Okay, derogatory. Okay, so the 5th Patriarch showed contempt for him immediately. He says, you're low class, you're uneducated, you're from a frontier region, you're a barbarian. How can you possibly expect to be a Buddha? First test from the Patriarch. Okay, so that's why when you physically show up, that's when they will throw tests at you. And that's a gift. Why should they even bother testing you? And if you don't make the effort to come, why bother testing you? Because you're going to quit anyway. Because after you make the effort of coming here for so far, making the effort, so forth, and you don't like the test, you don't like the instruction, you say, okay, I'm going to quit, I'm going to leave. Okay? Then tough luck. Okay? But if you make the effort, then it's a little bit harder for you to think about, see, I came from so far, spent so much money, and when I leave, I leave empty-handed. I don't know, let me think about that. Okay? That's a deterrent for you to leave. Okay? That's why I'd be surprised if you'll be taught online, because you quit. It's too easy for you to quit. Therefore, it's not possible to administer tests to you, because you quit too easily. All right? 285. Huineng said, although people can be from the north or from the south, the Buddha nature fundamentally has no north or south.
慧能曰：人虽有南北，佛性本无南北。
So Master Huineng replied, he says, yes, I'm a barbarian from the north. It's the south. I think south or north. Anyway, I'm a barbarian from a undesirable area. Okay, it's true. However, and the Buddha nature has no such distinction, north or south. So that was his immediate reply. 286. The body of this barbarian and the high masters are not the same. But what distinction is there in the Buddha nature?
Sorry. 葛辽生与和尚不同，佛性有何差别？
And furthermore, he says, furthermore, the body, besides the region where we live, okay, our body may be different, okay, but the Buddha nature, okay, is not different, because the Buddha nature has no marks. There's no south and north. There's no your body and my body. Buddha nature is the same for everyone. Okay, so he's a pretty good answer, and this is what Master Hongren, the 5th Patriarch, decided to test him. It's interesting because. I'm sure that Master Huineng, being a wood gatherer, is not normally that talkative, okay, or that quick-witted in a way, and yet, so that's why Master Hongren tested him immediately and see how quick-witted this guy can be. Okay, yes, 5.
Master, in the sutra, I don't know from when he become first enlightened to the point he see Master Hongren that he know about the Buddha nature. Was he become enlightened already? What his answer?
Yeah, and that's the part where it's not clear. He became a 4th stage Rahat. 4th stage Rahat don't know anything about Buddha nature. Okay, so between that until he got to Huangmei, we don't know what happened. Okay, but all the thing that matters is that at that point in time, okay, at that point in time, he's able to understand about the Buddha nature, and seek to be a Buddha. That by itself is unusual. That from not knowing anything about the Buddha nature and about being a Buddha, he wanted to become a Buddha, and then he talked about Buddha nature. Okay, so this is a gap in knowledge that we don't know. Okay, but the test there that was being administered from the 5th Patriarch, Master Hungren, to Great Master Huineng is see his retort. Okay, see how quick-witted he could be, and he passed the test, I think. 288. The 5th Patriarch wanted to continue the conversation, but seeing his disciples gathering on all sides, he ordered Huineng to follow the assembly off to work.
五祖更欲语语，且见徒众总在左右，乃令随众作务。
Okay, so being a patriarch, Master Hungren is always surrounded by his disciples. They was watching him, and when they saw Master Hungren talking to Master Huineng and showed interest, they are more and more of them were getting curious. So they were getting closer and closer, okay, to listen in. And from all different directions. And that's a problem. Some of the teachings are not meant for everyone. So that's why it's no longer possible to teach him in front of people. Okay, so what do? If you can't be taught, you work. That's the teaching. I can't teach you yet. Go to work. Create more blessings. Don't say that I'm here and you don't teach me, I leave. Okay? You go create blessings. So that's the teaching. Okay, and this is also what I observed from Master YongHua. When I came to become a left-form person from under him, he died very quickly without teaching me anything, teaching me Chan. But what we did at his temple was to work. Every day we work. We work from 8 until 10 in the morning. So we get up, do morning ceremony, and then we bow. And I was a novice, so I was not supposed to meditate. So we're supposed to bow. Okay, bow for an hour. But I didn't bow. I hate bowing. Oh God, what a horrible Dharma door. You see, the Koreans love bowing. I hate bowing. I just don't like bowing at all. I just have natural aversion of bowing. Okay, I'm too egotistical. Bowing my head and getting close to the hells? No way. My head is in the heavens. And so later, when I started teaching, I realized I need to understand how to bow, because I never practiced. Anyway, bowing is important Dharma door. I just don't like it. So I figured out how to bow, the proper bowing Dharma door, very quickly in order to teach you. But you asked me, you teach me how to bow, but did you bow? I said, no, I didn't bow. I just know how to bow. That's all. I know how you should bow, okay? And I can bow as well. I just don't like it, okay? That's all. Anyway, so when I was there in Master YongHua's temples, they forced me to bow. I hated it. Yeah. They forced me to bow for 1 hour, so I would bow down for one bow, and I slept for the entire hour. When time's up, I got up and walked away. I was very, very naughty because I have no respect for them at all. Okay, it's just bad conditions. Please don't be like me. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make. Not encourage you to be like me, but I noticed that we have to work. We have to work for 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, and then meditate for an hour again, and go for evening ceremony. Then evening we study sutras or do whatever we want to do. And so primarily the day for us is work. And this is the same thing here. You see, the same tradition. Chan tradition, you work. When you have some free time, you're not bound, you're not cultivating, you work. And I didn't understand it. And this is actually Chan training. Why? You create blessings first. You work. You plant blessings. Okay? You find ways to plant blessings. And at the temple, there's plenty of work. So that's how you plant blessings. Unless you have other means of planting blessings, you work. All right? And this, I feel, is what people here in this country don't understand. We need to make it clear. You come to the temple, okay, you have to remove this haughty attitude that I used to have. I'm here, teach me whatever. You work. You plant blessings first. And then when you have enough blessings, when the time is right, you'll be taught. Don't come and say, I'm here, teach me. Like I used to have. It didn't work for me. Yeah. Okay, no one taught me. All right? So don't say that Chan temple that we meditate, not at all. You see, at the 5th Patriarch time to 6th Patriarch time to Master YongHua's time, we all work. We all have to work. It's a Chan training. Okay, yes, 4.
Master, on a different subject, I would like to ask you for some instruction. I've been sitting for 3 days. I'm wondering if I should continue.
I don't know. What have you accomplished in 3 days?
I've been reading sutra, reciting mantra,
Okay.
fasting.
Fasting, okay. There's a schedule where you get up and you start meditating at 3 until 11:50 at night. The Chanchi is a time where you try to follow the schedule. Stick to the schedule. That's what the training is about. If you can't stick to the schedule, then work. So, the schedule is that whatever you do, you recite mantra, you recite sutras, whatever, it's okay. Okay? But stick to that schedule.
So I should stop the long sit? I've been sitting continuously for 3 days.
And keep on sitting. Okay? And that's the environment. It's for you to be able to sit and follow the schedule from 3 until 11:50 as much as possible. Okay, and the more work you do, the more rigorous your practice, less rest, and so forth, the better.
Yes, Master. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, one.
저도 질문이 있는데 첫 번째 질문은 방가부자를 하라고 하셔서 방가부자를 하고 있는데 오히려 무릎이 더 상욱스님 다시 할게요. 그러니까 마스터께서 3일 전에 결과부자 대신에 방가부자를 하라고 하셔서 방가부자를 계속 하고 있는데 왼쪽 무릎이 3분의 1 정도 붓기가 가라앉은 상태라서 지금 다시 결과부자를 해야 되는지 결과부자를 다시 할 수 있는 그 사인이 무엇인지를 우선 먼저 여쭙고 싶습니다.
Master, 3 days ago, you instructed me to sit in half lotus. So I have been sitting in half lotus, and now 1/3 of swollen disappeared. So I'm wondering whether I can sit in full lotus. How can I know that when I can sit in full lotus?
1/3 of what?
1/3 of swollen disappeared.
There's still 2/3 left. Wait until the 2/3 is gone. There's no hurry. Okay, 290. Huineng said, Huineng informs the High Master that this disciple's mind constantly gives rise to wisdom.
慧能曰：慧能启和尚，弟子自心常生智慧。
So, Master Huineng says, you told me to work. You want me to work. Go them back and work like everyone else. But you know, great Master, my mind constantly gives rise to wisdom. He's so pure. And this is no joke. It's like people who says, I have no affliction, and I have, my mind is always still and pure. Okay, those are illusions, delusions. Those words are deluded words. Okay, but in Master Huineng's point here is very clear. He says, my mind has been purified. Okay, my mind, this disciple's mind, constantly gives rise to wisdom. Meaning what? He's not thinking anymore. Constantly give rise to wisdom doesn't mean he's thinking. He knows. No, he's not thinking at all anymore. Is that clear? You give rise to wisdom by not thinking, not by thinking. Okay, so this is a common misinterpretation. Give rise to wisdom is like my thoughts are always wise, always, very wise. No, he has no thoughts anymore. He doesn't think anymore. That's why it gives rise to wisdom. Doesn't even think that he's pure or he's wise. Okay, doesn't think that. But it's because Master Hongren instructed him to work. He says, right now, my mind has thoughts of wisdom, meaning I have no thoughts whatsoever. Okay, so far so good. This is Master Hongren understands when he talks like this. Master Hongren, oh yeah, of course, I know. And you don't even have to tell me, I know. Okay, but Master Huineng says, I know, I'm not thinking anymore. That means constantly gives rise to wisdom. Okay, next, 291. It is not separate from the self-nature, which is just a pure blessing. Feel blessings. What work would the High Master wish me to do?
不离自性即是福田，为神和尚叫做何物？
Okay, blessings. Okay, this is very, very important distinction. Okay. Is it correct here? 291, 292. Okay. Feel blessings. Blessings has countless types. Okay, and feel blessings mean this is where you plant all sorts of blessings. Okay, so the arhat, for example, they plant blessings to become an arhat. Okay, and in order for them to go further, they need to plant more blessings. Where they need to plant blessings to receive help, more help from others. Why? Because in order to become enlightened and become a bodhisattva, you need a lot of help, a lot more help. And that's why you need to plant blessings by helping others. Yes, Seven.
Master, should it be a field of blessings? It's not only one field of blessings, right?
No, the field is fine. Here, the field is correct. Yes, one.
스케줄에 관한 질문을 드리고 싶습니다. 그러니까 책에 대한 스케줄을 따르려고 하는데, 상우스님 다시 할게요. 그러니까 최대한 스케줄을 따르려고 노력을 하고 있는데, 구체적으로 질문드리면, 런치 오퍼링 이후에 이제 설거지가 남았는데, 시간을 보고 법당에 가서 앉아야 되는 건지 아니면 남은 설거지를 해야 되는 건지 가끔 번뇌로울 때가 있어서 어떻게 해야 되는지를 질문드리고 싶습니다. 그러니까 제가 말하려고 한 포인트는 그러니까 스케줄을 따라야 되기 때문에 설거지가 남았음에도 불구하고 설거지를 스탑하고 법당에 가는 게 너무 이기적인 건가? 라는 좀 그 번뇌가 있어서 구체적으로 스케줄을 따른다는 것에 대해서 질문드리는 것입니다.
I want to ask you a question about following the schedule. For example, after lunch, I'm doing the dishes, but at 12 o'clock, to follow the schedule, still, if I follow the schedule, I could not finish the doing dishes. Then I feel it's kind of selfish thing. So should I follow the schedule or should I finish the doing dishes?
Finish what? I heard
Doing
3 dishes.
Yeah.
I mean, what 3 dishes? You eat so much at lunch? Eat less. Yes, 5. Do you have a comment about that or you have another one? Time is running out.
Question.
Okay, now wait. Okay, so when you work, then you are exempt from following the schedule because you're working and you're helping. So it's okay to finish the dishes and eat the 3 dishes. Right? But if you don't have such assignments, then you should hurry back to the Chan hall and follow the schedule. Don't think the schedule is designed for you just to follow it blindly without thinking. Okay? Keep up with it. Okay? If you can keep up with it, then make it harder on yourself. Skip the, go for longer sits and so forth. Okay? Keep on ratcheting it up. All right. Yes?
Master, he's also say the word, it is not separate from the self-nature. Was he already entering the ground? And also when he say that, what work would the High Master wish me to do, does it mean that he's ready to receive instruction already?
And he says, my mind give rise to, constantly give rise to wisdom, okay? And which is not separate from the self-nature, which is the few blessings. Now he's arguing. It doesn't matter whether he's enlightened or not. But when the Master says, when you go and seek for instruction, he says, without explaining to him that he can't give him instruction, so he says, you go work. Okay? And Huineng, Master Huineng was coarse, have no manners. He says, my mind is a mind of wisdom, which is not separate from the self-nature, which is just a few blessings. He's talking nonsense. Okay, so he, if he were the case, he shouldn't be talking like this. So to me, personally, when he talks like this, is that he assumes that he's seen the nature already. Okay, and if that's the case, then he shouldn't be talking like this. Okay, so he's arguing, and so he's being argumentative. So this is why, if I were the 5th Patriarch, I would still go work. Okay, so he's arguing. You come there for instructions, and you argue with the instructions. The instructions, you go work. I can't talk to you. Between parentheses, I can't talk to you right now. Go work. And he says, I'm a few blessings. I don't need to work. Who are you to talk to your instructor like that, to your teacher like that? Even if you're enlightened, big deal. You still have to work. So here, this is where Master Huineng is wrong, to argue with the 5th Patriarch. And he's totally wrong. And he even made a fool of himself. He says, what work would the High Master wish me to do? Like he's like a little bit condescending for a barbarian. Okay? And this is the wrong way to talk to your teacher. It's the wrong way to talk when you're enlightened. Okay? So he's going to be taught. Okay? And we'll do it next time. All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.